Hey y'all, this is Rachel White, and this is my final lesson plan. I teach at Mary Persons High School. I teach Algebra 1. I teach 3 blocks. Each block is 90 minutes. Now, depending on the day, there's this thing called Champ Block that is an extra added 30 minutes to a class. So, like on Tuesdays, my first block gets 2 hours in all. On Wednesdays, my second block gets 2 hours in all. And then on Thursdays, my third block gets 2 hours in all. So, it's an equal playing ground. Anyway, this lesson plan goes over my statistics unit, and here are the content standards for math, and then here are the ISTE standards as well. So, when doing this lesson plan, I usually incorporate more than 3 tools. So, in this lesson plan, there's more than 3 tools. However, the main 3 tools I'll be talking about is the first one would be quizzes. I usually do a quizzes as a warm up each time. So, for example, when I click on Monday's warm, my kids already know the expectations, so they know when they come into the classroom, they know immediately what to do and exactly how to do it. They know that it's already posted in Google Classroom. So, here's just an example of this type of questions they would answer. So, one question might be asking to find the initial value. Um, Another one would be asking about rate of change, and they know that rate of change is slope. Another one will be asking them the y-intercept and so forth. So, because I teach Algebra 1 course, it is a milestone course, so I have to go back from the very beginning and kind of hit those ground skills, because if I don't go over them, they'll lose them. Out of sight, out of mind. So, I want to make sure that it's in sight and in their mind, because the milestone is a very big state test. I want to make sure they pass. So that's the warm up. So they have one each day when they come into the classroom. And usually after they get done with the warm up, I can kind of look on my screen and see what misconceptions. But for the most part, since we've been reviewing, it's been pretty good. The only thing I would have to review would be like how to calculate certain slopes. But other than that, it's been great. And then, like for day one, for example, when we started our stat unit, they would still complete an Algebra 1 review sheet. And with this sheet, pretty straightforward. It's basic skills that they'll have and that they'll have to know how to do on their milestones. So for this one, they would use Desmos, all right, which is an online graphing calculator. And all my students know how to use this. This platform is also embedded in the milestone, so my kids are already familiar with it. So I want to make sure that they know how to use it. Go ahead and get any problems out the way, any troubleshooting that I could get, and help them utilize this great program. So they usually use that. And then the third tool is iExcel. Now, iExcel is another one that I love. So if we're learning about box plots, my students can sign into iExcel and practice. So it'll, like, for example, for this one, it's asking you for the medium temperature. They'll realize that the medium temperature is right here and type in their answer. If they get it wrong, like, for example, if I get it wrong, let's say this, it'll explain to them why it's not correct, and then they have another chance. Some other ones that I actually really like is a thing called Flippity. I know that this is my fourth digital tool, but this is an online escape room, and my students love this one because it's engaging and it's exciting when they can unlock each one. So, like for example, when I type this in, it automatically unlocks, and then I have 8 more to do. So they really love this one. They gravitate towards this. Another one that they love doing is a Blookit. So when I do Blookits, I usually just do review ones still because they need those basic skills. And then I throw in what they learned through that previous week. So like for this one's comparing functions, they just have to identify which out of the three. Is it linear, quadratic, or exponential? Um, and then same thing with GimKit. There's a bunch of them that I have and that I've created for my class. And it's just a bit like just it's just a basic review for them. And then there's another thing that assesses them is called progress learning. So I love progress learning because it matches what the milestone is going to look like. And usually these questions are a lot harder than the milestone. So I'd rather have my students practice with a harder question set than an easy question set. So, for example, when a student logs in, for example, let's see. When a student logs in, it should look like this. And they can go to study plan, hit Algebra 1 EOC, practice test. They can hit the small test and hit begin. And these questions are state questions. So this is what they might see on the milestone. Um, and it's pretty tough. These questions are pretty tough. However, once I get their data, I can actually look to see what they got wrong and we can talk about it as a class. But also, the good thing about progress learning, will show them that the ones they got wrong, and they can have a retry on that one. So basically, this was my days 1 through 5. We talked about two-way tables, frequency tables, and we still reviewed. And when we do like a review game called Grudge Ball, they're allowed to use these questions, and they're allowed to use Desmos with it as well. So all these tools that my students use, they all gravitate towards it and they're familiar with it and they're pretty engaged for the most part. Now, I know statistics is not one of those things where everybody loves it, but I try to make it fun with, real world situations and stuff like that. So basically, that was my lesson. I've already taught it, so my students enjoyed it, and I hope that helped.